Hey everybody, Troy here. I'm going to add to the bajillion rig rundowns that are out there. Had a few requests to kind of explain the methodology behind my pedal board and where I use which pedals where and why and all that stuff, and then to kind of run through the various guitars that I have and just the rig in general. So this is that video. I'm sure it'll be the first one out of a few that I'll do over the course of time. Things are changing pretty frequently as far as guitars go. My pedal board for the most part, stays constant, especially the delay and reverb section never really changes. Just maybe a couple overdrives here and there getting swapped in and out. But I hope this provides you some insight. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Shoot me an email, comment on the website, whatever you want to do. I'm always happy to chat and bounce ideas back and forth and help wherever possible. So we'll start with the guitar. So here we go. Okay, so the first guitar I want to go over is the my Duesenberg Fullerton TV. The Duesenberg Star Player TV actually is what was the first guitar that I purchased that was like, I guess, geared toward worship playing. Prior to that I had like Les Pauls and 335s and a bunch of Strats, especially, from my blues playing days. And I had a gold top Star Player TV that I ended up selling for a Grosh Electrojet TV, which was like a Tele / Strat, everything. Ended up selling for that and regretted it for sure, and then ended up buying this. And so I guess before I get too far, I'm not going to play these right now because I've done tutorials with the guitars that I'm going to show you. So if you want to hear, say, what I use this type of guitar for, recently I uploaded At Your Name, a little walkthrough for Phil Wickham's song At Your Name. Check that out. Or Cornerstone was another one that I did with this guitar, and a handful of others. It's pretty common. So what I dig about this guitar is the pots and switches are extremely high quality, and it's like if you notch the volume just a bit, you get some effect out of it. It's not some volume pots you got to take like almost all the way down to get any kind of impact, and it stays clear, so it retains a high end. The switch, you can hear the switch. These are extremely high quality switches. I actually have to grab it and move it like that so it doesn't pop through my rig. But at least I know it'll never go bad, which is cool. And then the Duesenberg trem system is by far the best that I've ever played. Stays in tune. It's the smoothest. I mean, you barely have to touch it to make it do anything, which is incredible. And you'll notice I used to own a Nystrom Kestrel that had the Duesenberg tremola system on it, and it was just awesome. Very cool guitar for sure. Tuning pegs are extremely high quality. The guitar stays in tune very well. It's got a great feel. The only drawback to this style, the double cut, is that it tends to want to lean forward on you. So I like the way it looks. I kind of wish that I would have stayed with the gold top and not had to deal with that issue there. But one of the best P90s I've ever heard in a neck pickup for sure. It's extremely clear. It does blues stuff like incredibly well, but also like this big round clean that you can get out of it. So think like You Hold Me Now by Hillsong, like that kind of clean tone out of the neck pickup. Middle position is quacky. I don't like it at all. Rarely use it. Sometimes, like on the CD I recorded play guitar on for Brick City Worship, I use that middle position there to kind of give it some character and differentiate it from like the basic bridge and neck pickup tones that you typically would hear. And it sounded okay. Because I was writing those parts. So I feel like because they were my parts, I could make them sound okay with the middle position, but I can't really cop anybody else's parts. And since I primarily do covers, I don't find that middle position very useful. Bridge pickups, just rock and roll. Sounds awesome for worship. It's just a really well-rounded guitar. I feel like it has like a niche that it lives in for sure. So this guitar doesn't get a lot of action on Sunday mornings anymore because of the other guitars that I've added to my collection. But this is what started it all right here, the Duesenberg Star Player Fullerton TV, the TV style guitar. So definitely dig these a lot. Okay, so the next one, this is my Veritas Portlander. I actually had this one custom built. Casey and the guys at Veritas took really good care of me on this one. I really appreciate this guitar. It's really nice for sure. Had this for about a year now, I guess. Bird's Eye Maple, big fan of the way Bird's Eye Maple looks. It's got the satin finish on the neck. With most of my guitars that have wood finish necks, I take like, you can see right here, I take like quadruple zero grade sandpaper and just hack all the finish off of it basically because I just can't stand the sticky finish. So they actually finished this one in a way where I didn't need to do that. It's just silky smooth right off the bat. Matching headstock. One of the coolest looking headstocks in the game for sure. Open grain satin finish, they call that. It's kind of cool because like the grain, when it comes through, it's almost red, which is pretty cool. So it gives it like this red kind of tint. Torque guard, treble bleed circuit, standard Bigsby, and Lawler El Rayos, which they tout these as being like humbuckers for guys who typically like single coils, and I'd say that would be pretty true. They're extremely clear, very well defined. They're not very bass heavy. I generally don't get along with guitars that have really, really bass heavy sounds. Just can never dial them in the way that I like. Rosewood board, 6100 stainless steel frets. Anytime I get a guitar custom made, I ask for the biggest frets possible, typically. And something that I think is really special about this guitar is that I asked them, you know, Casey and Veritas Guitars are really big on like, if you can dream it, they build it. And actually kind of, when you're walking through the build sheet and stuff, I feel like they sort of challenge you to do that in a sense. And I asked him, I was like, man, you know, I had a Stevie Ray Vaughan Strat. So I graduated high school in 2002, and I had a Stevie Ray Vaughan Strat that I bought in 2001. It was like the first high-end guitar I ever purchased in my life. And I played it nonstop for, I don't know, like the better part of, maybe 8-9 years. I was in blues bands with my dad and stuff growing up. So that guitar felt like home to me. I rarely played another instrument. It was always that one. So I said, dude, I know that Warmoth has the SRV neck profile available for purchase, but they have the dimensions on the website. So I asked Casey and those guys if they could hook me up and try to make a neck exactly like it, and they did. And it's pretty awesome. So it feels just right at home for me. You know, having played that guitar for a lot of years, this one feels really good. What I like about this guitar is the neck pickup is extremely clear. It reminds me kind of a Strat in a way. Not as clear as a Stratocaster, but pretty close. Bridge pickup is very, very well defined. It's just, like as far as versatility goes, this thing can tackle any set list that our worship leader might throw at me, I guess. I feel like if I bring this one, I'm going to be in pretty good shape to take care of whatever I need to take care of from a sound standpoint. So, happy for this guitar. Love it. It's very comfortable. Belly carve. You know, as I get older, my belly gets bigger. So, I'm sure that'll be important at one point in time. But this is the Veritas Portlander. Dig it. Okay, so my next one is one that kind of came to me by surprise, to be honest with you. And it has quickly become my go-to. Like, I haven't played really any guitar very much since getting this guitar. So I was scouring reverb.com like we all do all the time and stumbled upon this. I hadn't seen very many Mini Masters for sale, and the ones that were for sale just weren't really what I would be after from like a color standpoint, pickups, feature set, what have you. But this one, it just caught my eye, and it stayed up for a little while. And my boy, who will remain nameless because I don't know if he wants me putting his name all over YouTube, the guy that was selling it, we just kind of struck up conversation and we're talking back and forth for close to a week, I guess. Really, really cool guy. Took really good care of me in this guitar. I ended up moving another instrument that I had custom made for me to buy this. And when it came in, the only thing I did was I dropped this piece down just a touch, and it just plays like a dream. It's incredible. I'm a huge offset guitar fan, and this is the most comfortable offset guitar I've ever played, and it's extremely light, which is awesome. Belly carve as well on that one. This one does have gloss on the neck. It hasn't bothered me too much to this point, so I'm a little reluctant to do my normal shaving of the finish. So I'm going to chill on it for now. But again, matching headstock. All the guitars I have built normally have matching headstocks. It's ice blue metallic, I think is the color. And oddly enough, these are bare knuckle, what are they? Stormy Monday. Wow, that was strange. Bare knuckle Stormy Monday pickups. If you look on their website, they seem to be like the most single coil of their humbucking pickups that they offer. So they're still very clear. This guitar, I played for like a weekend, Michigan Baptist convention, I think it was, or conference, Michigan Baptist Conference, sounds right, and played like hymns and Wickham stuff and Hillsong stuff and just a bunch of elevation. So threw a lot of stuff at it, I guess, and it just ate it up. Every song I could find the perfect tone for. I feel like it's not too like in your face sounding. So it's just one of those guitars that sits perfectly in the mix, and I can just play all the time. It's incredibly comfortable. Yeah, so this guitar I think is going to be with me for a long time. I actually have another one of these on the way. It's going to be Shoreline Gold. It's going to have white sides. I hope. That's what I ordered anyway. So white sides, El Rayo pickups, matching headstock. So I'm going to have 2 of these eventually because I just love this guitar so much. And that should be done here in the next couple weeks. So you'll probably see that on some tutorials soon. Not available to me at the moment is my Elliott Tonemaster that I own. It's actually boxed up because I'm trying to sell it. Awesome guitar, feels incredible, looks incredible, is incredible. Bridge is sweet. The design, the aesthetics, the neck is one of the most comfortable necks I've ever played. I just can't, just the tone of it is not my thing for every song. Like some songs are just nails, and then other songs it doesn't really come close for me. So my Veritas guitars seem to be, for me, more versatile. And since we do all covers on Sunday mornings, and my primary purpose is to try to make the sounds as close to the record as I possibly can, I feel like these guitars better serve that purpose for me. So if you're looking for an Elliott Tonemaster, I have serial number 95 in vanilla shake, original case, COA, original box. It's actually right over there. You can buy it. So shoot me a message and maybe we can work something out. So there's my guitars for now, and I'm sure they'll be changing, in the future, but pretty happy with what I have going on at this point. So we'll move on to some of the pedals, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that as well as my amplifier that I use. So here we go. All right, so next I just want to talk quickly about the way I run my setup and even my recording setup, just really fast the way it works. So I haven't played through an amplifier on stage in over 6 years. I've always ran direct. It was like the first Easter I ever played in church. It was before I even became a Christian. Actually, I had an amplifier and just like blew John Mayer and Eric Clapton licks all over everything they were playing, and it probably sounded terrible. Ever since like those days, I've ran direct. So like Liverpool, Tech 21 Liverpool, HD 500 from Line 6, had a Jackson Scarlett 30 and Newcastle 30 that I ran through Sur reactive load into a torpedo cab for like the cabinet simulation and stuff, but that just got to be a pain to drag around, and wasn't incredibly happy with the sound anyways. It was cool. It sounded really good, don't get me wrong, but for what I could get if I sold the stuff and to avoid lugging around that much equipment for church with my 2 kids and a wife, so it gets car gets packed, or a Jeep gets packed pretty fast. But anyways, so that I made a long video about the Kemper. I'm not going to go into the Kemper in detail, but I basically run like AC30 style models from the Kemper. Whether it's M. Britt, I use a ton of his profiles, so I like the divided by 13 JRT 915 and ERT 33 profiles a ton. He's got a matchless JJ30 profile that just kills. AC15, matchless lightning, like all those just sound incredible. Then I had this other one, I don't know how to say the guy's last name, but it's Kelch, Kelch, but I'm sorry, his first name I don't know how to say. It's like Hannes or something, Hannes. I use that AC30 profile all the time. If you search AC30 Kemper profile on YouTube, it's the guy that plays a Telly with 2 P90s, and he compares like a vintage AC30 and the Kemper profile that he made from that particular amp, and it just is a super special profile. I use it almost every Sunday, and lately I've been using it on pretty much every tutorial and stuff that I upload. So for my recording setup, I have an iRig Pro 2. It's an extremely simple, basic iRig Pro 2. It costs like $100. I run Ableton. I was a sales manager at a guitar place for a while, and I took some training and ended up getting some free Ableton pass codes or whatever. So I run Ableton. I use that to transpose the songs that I do tutorials from. So out of the Kemper into the iRig, Ableton, and then I monitor through this Mackie mixer, and I run a headphone out of this into the mixer so I can control the volume from the tracks that I'm using, and then from the mixer I run out to a pair of headphones, so I have separate or in-ears rather. I have separate control over the level of my guitar and then the track mix on here, so I can tweak it to how I like. And for in-ears, they're in my bag. I just use like a pair of the basic 64 audio, like Adele's, I think they're called. They're like dual driver. End up getting a pretty killer deal on Mass Drop for those. So anyways, that's my basic setup. Play in my basement all the time, as you know. Very, very basic video equipment. I'm recording with an iPhone right there with some weird microphone thing hanging off of it. Sounds like garbage for the most part, but I'm not spending money on camera gear, so there we go. And I bought a light package off of Amazon for like 20 bucks or something, and that's pretty much it. And then I have a spare iPhone that I use to grab pedalboard shots, and then I use my my son's basketball hoop and this guy to suspend the camera up. So yeah, definitely not pro, man, but I'm not pro, so try to get it done in the way that costs the least amount of money, since I'm not bringing any money in off this stuff, and that's not my concern anyways. It's just a lot of fun. So let's jump into the pedals, and I'll kind of let you know how I use this stuff and the sounds I try to get out of it. Okay, so I'm all hooked up. I'm going to take you through my pedals and how I use them, and I'm going to let you know that my setup is really no different in its basic form from your standard worship guy setup. I cover the songs that we listen to, so I have a lot of the same pedals that those guys do, and try to make all the same sounds, basically, of the guitar players that we listen to. So a lot of it's going to be much the same from every other worship player you've heard or seen. So you might pick up something here or there, but if not, sorry. If so, awesome. But let's jump in and see what all this stuff does, I guess. Okay, so the first pedal in my chain is the Walrus Audio Deep 6. If I'm going to have compression, I have to have a blend knob, because I don't like just a basic, like all the way compressed signal. I like to be able to blend the clean signal back in. The only other compressor that I've liked that did not have a blend control was the Diamond compressor. Just did not like it with humbucking pickups. It was awesome with single coils, one of the best I've ever heard. But this seems to be extremely versatile, can handle any guitar that I throw at it. I do put the big knobs here on the blend and the sustain, so I can move them throughout the set if I want to, if I'm trying to go for a little bit different tone. But basically, what I use it for is to tame any notes that are going to jump out like crazy, especially on the bright, clean parts. I don't want those to kind of get out of control on me and hurt anybody's ears. I think one of our primary focuses as guitar players in a worship setting is to not be annoying, because the fact of the matter is, guitar players, like, you're playing like a dry single note line a lot of times, like in, say, in a prayer, can be annoying, and it can sort of take people's focus off praying and just focusing on God and what Jesus has done for us, and asking Him to reveal sin in our lives that maybe He needs to uproot for us, so we can get back to worshiping Him and serving His people and trying to spread the love of Christ. And I know for guitar playing, like, we're talking about a compressor, how are you relating this to Jesus? And it's like, I think we need to relate everything to Jesus. That's the way it is. That's why we do this. So again, I try to use the compressor to tame those notes, so they don't kind of get out of control on us. So I also use it to slam the front end. If you'll notice, again, my level's set up pretty high, so my signal without the compressor is going to sound like this. So let me turn that off really quick. So there's bridge pickup. Neck pickup. And then neck and bridge. So with the compressor on now. Neck pickup. big difference to me. And some guys on one of the worship like Facebook pages, I never used a compressor until like a couple years ago, and I just asked them flat out, what's the deal with compression? Why do you guys always run these compressors always on? I just can't stand them. And the fact of the matter was I just never played the right one. And I found this one and haven't looked back, and I really like it a lot. Okay, so from there I go into the POG. I use the POG for a lot of stuff. I typically run the dry to let as much dry signal through as possible. So right now it's set for... So like with some reverb, it's going to sound. And then I think the highs on the POG are what really make the pedal too much at times, which is why I have the big knob there. So if I roll this back a little bit. So I use that on stuff, a lot of Wickham stuff. I use POG on. Taylor Johnson seems to fancy him some POG, I guess. And I also use it to make like texture stuff. So like. Or, you know, like your standard kind of gonna make a single note or an octave line sound bigger. So like your Hillsong. So thicken stuff up like that. Recently I did do that tutorial of Glory to Glory by Bethel. And I used it on that. I can't remember the exact settings that I used, but I think it was something like this. And for the life of me, I don't remember the delay settings or anything, but I want to say it's like 78 BPM. So let me grab this and take it to 78. And I'll show you kind of how I used it there. So I did, so on that one I think I did something like this, like so a lot different than, you know, like on the average worship set I'm going to set it probably somewhere like that, and just take care of the high octave with my foot if I want to back anything off. From the POG, I go into the Mercy Seat Effects Dual Overdrive. This pedal gets a lot of action on the Klon side. This Holy Dove is a Klon clone, in its most basic form, I guess, just without the charge pump. And then the Tree of Life I use like as my, wow, I don't have an overdrive that suits this particular purpose today, so I'm going to set that one to be that overdrive, because the cut control, so let me give you an example really quick of. So the cut control all the way down is going to be bright, and then all the way up is going to take and add the mids back in and decrease the brightness. And then I can introduce highs back in with this. So at like its brightest, it can sound something like this. So not great, but just to give you an idea of the range that it has as far as EQ goes. So that's why I like that one a lot. It's just extremely versatile, and I can set it to what I need that day, whereas my other overdrive pedals kind of just chill where they are from a setting standpoint. The Holy Dove, I actually used that today, and I use it on that bunch of Bethel stuff. Use it on Bethel stuff all the time. But I'll give you an example of what that sounds like. So let's see, what do we do today? Yeah. All right, so I use it on Oh Praise the Name today. And the way that I set up these clon pedals is, like the overdrive, the gain is just cracked a little bit. As you increase the gain on these, it introduces more mids into the signal. And I don't want the like super MIDI, but I want like the nice upper mid push that the clon pedals give. Run the tone kind of hot, and then the volume I just use to jam the front end. So like it's going to sound. So really awesome pedal, man. I think it just has this, retains the high end, really pushes everything really, really nicely. So one of my favorites on my board for sure. I think it's just, I told Austin if he could make a smaller one, that would be the only thing that would make me happier. But for now, I'm just going to deal with that because I like it so much. Okay, so next is the Strymon Riverside, which is their newest pedal. First overdrive pedal that they've had under the Strymon name. I dig it for sure. So I have it set up to be a very mid-heavy and bass-heavy overdrive, which is different from the rest of mine that, for the most part, retain clarity. So I have that set up. So it's going to be like this. I have the favorite switch to brighten that up. So which I think on the favorite side I have the treble like up here. So didn't move very much. So that's a Riverside. I have only had it a couple days, and I dig it. It's going to stay there. It does. It's just, you can get nearly any tone out of it. I've been able to match the tone of a lot of the other pedals that I have on my board, so it's pretty sweet. From there is the King of Tone, which is my go-to all the time. And then I have the yellow side to brighten that up. So that would be like... Then by itself, the yellow side would be like just like a nice kind of chunky. So that pedal I've owned twice. This is the second time, and I'll never ever get rid of it. So it's just a thing that's going to be on my board forever. From there I go to the Morning Glory, which is the overdrive that I use probably the most often because it doesn't do anything to your signal EQ-wise. It might keep the highs intact by adding a little bit. I'm not really sure, but it doesn't add bass, which I love. So it's extremely clear. So if I... so that's by itself, but it stacks with everything like perfectly. So if I'm playing some, say, I don't know, let's say something like this. That little bit of brightness. I might run the volume like up here. I think I actually bumped it today, but so I have it at the end of the chain so it can lift the volume and add a little bit of gain and a little bit of brightness. And that is the same thing with the RC booster, which is one of the longest running pedals on my board as well. So I run this as a clean boost. So something really nice to the high end. So I back off the bass, back off the treble a little bit. So I gotta fix this little barefoot knob thing. It's not working right. Okay, here we go. So that'll work really well for that song we played today too with the, let's see. So it does something really nice to the highs that I just love. So that pedal always stays in my chain and at the end. So one thing to note is I never have a pedal always on, like from an overdrive standpoint. I don't like that. I run my amp the way I like it to sound and just jam it with pedals. And so that kind of rounds out the drives and how I use them for the most part. Okay, so from there, everything goes into the volume pedal. I've had volume pedal nightmares over the past couple of years, so I've gone through a couple Ernie Balls. I've gone through a couple of these volume X's. I had a Tapestry Audio Bloomery that got noisy after like a couple weeks, so I let that go. Just didn't think it just wasn't for me. Let's put it that way. I didn't like enjoy it plain. Just I feel like I just needed more more balance, something more to stand on. But anyways, super cool looking pedal. Those guys have a lot of good stuff going on, including these little knobs right here, and just awesome customer service. But that particular pedal wasn't for me. But don't let me stop you from buying one, because you might like it. From there, we go to the El Capistan, which I use just as a quarter note delay for like on the fly stuff if I want to tap something in. So like today we did What a Savior. So we did that, and I use it for that. Sometimes I'll bump up the mix to do like ambient stuff with, but maybe something like this. So just something nice for a nice quarter note delay. From there it goes into the timeline. You guys all know what this does. Just delay pedal. I mean, I have different settings for every single song that we play, and then I like to use the oscillate feature a lot too. So. Type deal, or you can all right, from the timeline goes into the Nuniver stereo wet, which is always on. I just use it as my bass reverb setting, which sounds like this. And then from there, the Strymon Big Sky, which is probably my favorite pedal of all time. I use it all the time. I have lots of different reverb settings, and I use the DMC 8D exclusively with this. So on here I have like my washy verb setting. And then I have my bright reverb setting, which is this one. Then I use this bloom setting a lot for stuff. Then I have it set also to do the hold function on this, so I can Then I have basic shimmer setting. And then I use a cloud over here. So this can be... And I use that to roll the mix up and down. All right, so I'm going to stop there just for a second before I get into the Flint and how we use that. But so if you don't have keys, like dedicated keyboard player or piano player, or like you don't have 5 synth players that are playing lead synth and pad synth and playing the tracks and stuff, which we don't. We have my sister-in-law plays keys, she plays pads and she sings. She's an incredible singer, and that's really her strength and where she should be focusing her attention. So she plays pads, so I have to cover a lot of this stuff, which is why I have so many reverbs and so much dedicated to reverb. And that's why I like the hold function on this. That's why I have another verb that's just dedicated to swells 100% of the time. So if I do, say, do that hold, everything I play from there is going to be completely dry. So turn the delay off. So then I'll turn on the Flint to weten it back up. So that's the reason behind, the DMC 8D going right to the Big Sky, nothing else, is because it gives me complete control over my reverb settings, and I switch them all the time and just constantly doing things to try to make worship times better and, again, not distracting. So kind of keeping my guitar back in the mix, acting as a keyboard more than, just a straight up guitar player all the time. And then I have the Flint set for swells, so that, then in addition to that, I use their stutter trim. Yeah, so I use that on like Mercy by Bethel. Think like Mighty Warrior too, if I'm covering that part. Just basic stutter trim, and then I use that'll take us on to the Mobius, which I use for basic trim like this, you know. Just to add some texture. But I can also set it to BPMs as well, so if I want like a triplet stutter or something, I'll do that. But primarily it's just that basic trem sound and then this chorus sound. And that's the Mobius. And then vibrato. I use this for a bunch of Phil Wickham stuff. Whatever else. I overuse it a lot in my tutorials. Sorry. I just really like it. And then I feel like it sounds better than it does most of the time. But, you know, it's got the... Crank up the depth a little bit, and you start getting that. So I like that. I used it today. We did Joy to the World, and I set it something like that. Let me see. Something like that, I think I did. Yeah. Flavor, so without that vibrato, it sounds like this. So I dig it. It's a good, cool pedal. It's not great for everything. Again, I'm trying to learn how to not overuse it, but. And then tuner runs off the volume pedal. Okay, so there's my pedal board. You know, that's like scratching the surface, I think, of how it gets used. You know, during a worship time, you just never know what's going to hit you. And also when you're figuring out songs, how you might want to use this pedal differently than you used it in the past. But for the most part, that's how I use it. And again, I don't think it's very much different from, you know, how every other guy is going to use the same pedals. So I hope that was helpful. If you have questions, shoot me a comment in the description. Happy to answer any questions you may have. And as always, just remember, this is to glorify Jesus Christ. There's no other purpose in my playing, you know, in these pedals than to create an awesome worship time for the people of God and to lift His name high for what He's done for us on the cross. It's a privilege to play guitar in church and to worship with our faith family every single week. There's nothing like it. There's nothing I'd rather do. And I'm just thankful that there's a community like you guys out there that we can share this with, to lift the name of Jesus high above all names, and that we might see people come to know him through music, and that we help create this. So it's pretty cool that he lets us partner up with him and to do that. So guys, I hope it was helpful. I'll see you next time. If you have questions, let me know. Adios.